welcome to Follow Everton. I'm Ryan, your host, and today I have the honour and the privilege of being joined with EVERTON Rose, who has an amazing Everton YouTube channel and is a massive Evertonian like myself. So it's a real pleasure to have you on here, Rose. How are you?
Hey Ryan, no, thank you for having me on. I would say I'm excited to talk about Everton, but that would be a lie. So no, thank you for having me on. I've watched a few of your videos, and yeah, glad to be on the channel.
Thank you. I know you're feeling really disgruntled and upset, like I think most of us. In fact, if you aren't upset about Everton right now, you mustn't be watching us, because it's been so disheartening, hasn't it, these recent weeks? And did you manage to get to the Wolves game yourself, or did you watch it at home? Or
no, so I watched that one at home. The last game I went to was the QPR one, unfortunately. So
yeah, that was another bad one.
Yeah,
Tell me about Wolves briefly. What you thought about Everton at Wolves?
You simply just can't not play in the first half. They got the 2-goal cushion, and then people said, well, we were better in the second half. But I said, well, that's because they had a 2-goal lead and they just took their foot off the gas, and then when it went to 2-1, then they started to play again. So I felt like actually it wasn't Wolves, getting tired in the second half. I heard that excuse as well. It was like, no, they were comfortable. So they stopped playing. And the full-backs were just, it was just completely exposed. And, I have sympathy for Ben Godfrey because he's not a left back, but we don't have another left back at the club, so he has to fill in. And, despite everything Seamus Coleman has done, he's utterly exposed. Like, he's just, and now this is where, people, like, fans are turning on him. And I saw a lot of that after the Wolves game, but just in terms of the whole team, it just wasn't good enough. And it's not even a case of talent. It was just that they weren't even working hard. They were just jogging around, going through the motions. And I thought we'd seen the end of that, but it's back. So I don't know.
It was so bad, wasn't it? I think you've hit the nail on the head. I can't disagree with anything you've said. And for me, really, at Wolves, Rafa Benitez was naive in his setup to think that Gbamin could come in a 2-man midfield, because I felt like Wolves always had an extra man in midfield. And even still, it was so easy to walk through us. It reminded me of some of the games under Sam Allardyce and Martinez away from home, where we'd set up quite defensive, but somehow still end up being, it was almost like they were walking past us at times. And I know we can talk for hours and hours about the failings of recruitment and leaving us without backup fullbacks. And at the end of the day, we've still got international footballers in there, and I think we should expect and we definitely do deserve better. Because I was at Wolves, and I felt so upset, because when these games that we've been watching, where you get used to a bit of feeling bad about Everton, and then it doesn't hurt as much. But that Wolves game really hurt me, because it was like they're not even putting any effort in, really. And moving on into the Spurs game, and we haven't really got a good record against Spurs, have we? I don't think we've won at home in a long time against Tottenham. I was just looking at some of the statistics. Everton's only victory in the last 16 league meetings came at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium last season. I mean, it doesn't really set us for much hope, does it? I mean, but just going back to last season's game, we gifted them, didn't we? Do you remember Harry Kane got a gift? How do we cut out these mistakes if these players have got this sort of, it's like ingrained in them? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think I think last season was actually I think last season was probably our best season. I mean, we beat them 5-4 in the cup. You beat them 1-0 away, and then we drew with them at home. I don't remember ever getting results like that against Spurs, like you said, to the stats match up. I'm just thinking about the way that we're defending. It's set pieces, but just in general, if we defend like we have been, Harry Kane, he's badly out of form. Who's he playing next? Oh, they've got a new manager, right? Of course, they're playing Everton, and I'm scared that we're going to gift, like you say. I wouldn't be surprised if he scores 3 on Sunday, because Yerry Mina's not back, Doucouré's not back, Calvert-Lewin's not back. We're going to probably play Holgate and Keane again. at centre back. Well, we have to. Like, I don't really see what else we can do, unless like Benitez just changes the system drastically. It's just worrying, really. In terms of other players as well, players like Ndombele, new managers come in, someone like Conte. If he's up for it, I don't think we have anybody capable of stopping him with the power that he has in midfield. Alan, maybe, but on his own, I don't know. Let me know your thoughts, because I feel like I'm talking a lot. So yeah, I don't know.
I want to hear what you've got to say, Rose. To be honest with you, I think you're spot on. It's a concern. I mean, last season, as you say, we did beat them twice. The home game, which I think was a little bit of a turning point for the derailing of our season. I don't think Decore and James had quite got injured at that point. I'm not too sure, but it certainly felt like a turning point where we were competing with them, and then all of a sudden, you're gifting 2 really easy goals, and then the season's petering out. This season, obviously, it's close to the start. We're really disappointed, I think, overall. Let's look. We dropped points at Leeds, Villa, West Ham, Watford. Teams we should be beating with really tougher fixtures ahead. And I'd say Spurs is one of the harder games for sure on paper. And with that new manager bounce as well, it's a worry. Team news. We've got no Andre Gomez. Again, he seems to have vanished off the face of the earth. Yerry Mina played 3 90-minute games for Colombia, and came back and hasn't been seen. Yeah. Obviously, Calvert-Lewin, we don't really know the extent of that injury, and Decore is out. So, for me, I'm really a bit cheesed off that we don't really know what's happened to Gomez and Mina. There's not really the clarity there. I think he should have said at the start, they could be out for 3, 4, 5 weeks instead of stringing us along, because it creates a negative feeling when you're going into a game and people are like, is Mina fit, or what's happened to him? The team news, it's pretty much unchanged. Luca Dean's back. But apart from that, Ellis Sims maybe, but I think he's a bit raw, and Jared Branthwaite. So it's going to be a similar team, possibly. The only changes that I can see, and I'm going to ask for your team in a moment, but I think Iwobi swapped with. You really want 3 midfielders, but there aren't 3 midfielders who look like they can. Yeah, they can do the job. So it's got to be Fabian Delph, the midfield ahead of Gbamin. Luca Dean at left back for Holgate, who will come out of the team. So, and then I think really the shape. I want Anthony Gordon to play, but I just think it's going to be. I think it's going to be difficult to see him start. I think he'll go with the extra midfielder, and I think it'll be Tom Davis. So Davis, Delph, and Alan. It's a small midfield as well. It puts you immediately at a disadvantage for set pieces. Yeah. But then the alternative is Gbamin, or throwing in Anthony Gordon or Iwobi as another option. What do you think about that?
I think it has to be the 3 midfielders. Like you mentioned in the Wolves game, as soon as I saw that we were playing Gbamin and Alan, I just said, right, when Moutinho and Neves are just going to dictate, like, so experienced, better players, in my opinion.
They're not quick, them two.
Yeah, and then because it's not even like we're ignoring the Spurs have Mora, Son, Lo Celso, like they've got players out wide as well that can hurt you and cut inside. And if we've got really slow central midfielders, we're just going to get overrun. So I think we have to go with the 3, and those 3 are the only ones who are fit. And hopefully Delph stays fit until Sunday. Gbamin looked well off the pace. He hasn't started in 2 years, so who can blame him for that? But he looked well off the pace. And but Davis as well. In the Watford game, he was ducking out of challenges, so doesn't really inspire me with confidence. But
no one deserves to play.
I don't know what I don't know who else we go with, because if we go with 2, I think it'll be the same result.
Tyler Onyango, perhaps. Do you think it's still a bit too soon to bring him in midfield, because he's 6'4", and I think immediately would bring a bit more of a presence. With what you just said there, no one really deserves to be in that midfield. I think, apart from Delph's cameo, but really over the course of his Everton career, it's been a shambles at best. So, is it an opportunity maybe to just throw a young boy in and say, look, the pressure's off, because we haven't got anyone here?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think Benitez spoke about Anyanga maybe about a week and a half ago, saying that, yeah, he wants to push him through. And it just says an awful lot about the rest of the central midfielders that we have, where we are trying to push through Tyler Anyanga and just trying to fit him in. I mean, can he do any worse? Like, that's where I'm at now, is that, yeah, okay, he's not got experience, might not be Premier League ready, but a lot of our central midfielders don't seem to be Premier League ready. So give him a go. If he's awful, you drag him off at half time. Like, I mean, for his confidence, he is still a kid, like basically still a kid. But if you don't play him, you're not going to know. I mean, he could be really good. But I think at Everton,
be any worse than Kabam.
Exactly. I don't think we're giving them the chance. And then they're going out on loan. And I think, I made a whole video about that I don't understand what our under 23 and what our academy system is. I don't get it, because we're not giving them the chance. So we won't know if Onyanga is ready if we don't play him. It's I don't know.
I mean, this isn't a new problem, Rose. This is a chronic problem, because I'm talking about Marco Silva. There was a time just before his sacking where I think he had to go away to Leicester, and it was Davis and Sigurdsson, who's been completely, people have forgotten about him, by the way, but still the club record signing. But Davis and Sigurdsson were the midfield pair, and we were getting bypassed every game, and it was terrible. And that was 3-4 years ago. And, it hasn't evolved. And of course, Alan's better, but he's not a Drissa guy. He's not got that engine. And obviously without Doucouré, and Doucouré's like two men in there, because he's big, he's strong, he's quick, he's got absolutely everything in his game. You're not replacing like for like. I think bring the extra height in. You only get experience by playing. And if he's a highly rated player, then what better opportunity? But, it's a worry. And I think it's risky for Rafa now, because I think a lot of the goodwill has gone with a huge percentage of the fan base who at the start didn't want him and then maybe warmed to him and willing to give him time. I'm not sure how long he has before it becomes extremely toxic at Goodison. And as a season ticket holder, the atmosphere isn't good anyway at the game. And I think another defeat, a big defeat, or a defeat without trying, let's just say, could be really costly. And I'm just going to bring a comment in from Steve, who says, surely no one's blaming Rafa. These players are a disgrace. So that leads me on to the question. For you, are you giving Rafa more time regardless? Or do you think this is so important for his future, these next couple of games? Because we're playing City, we're playing Liverpool, we're playing Spurs. Maybe pick up 1 or 2 points if we're lucky. And that's my feeling.
I think I really don't like the culture, and a lot of Everton fans I've seen on Twitter have been saying this, that the manager always takes the fall. Like, these players have to step up at some point, have to take responsibility, but they're not. They're seeing manager come in, manager go. Aside from Ancelotti, they've all been sacked, in recent years. So some of these players have been around for an awful long time, and it's no coincidence. I mean, Ancelotti and Benitez are Champions League winning managers. So at some point, you have to look at the players and, what they're having to work with. And so, Benitez gets more time for me. I do think a kind of a positive that maybe we haven't touched on yet is that we tend to get up for these games. When we're playing the top six and teams that are, Sky and everyone, rightly so, based on our form, will be expecting us to lose. Sometimes it's where we grab a win, or where we grab a draw, like the United game. I wasn't expecting very much, but they've been poor. So
we do. Yeah, I mean, that's Everton though all the time. They want to be the underdog. I think you're right there in that we do seem to step up, raise our game against teams when we're under the cosh. But at the end of the day, Spurs have got that little bit of extra quality. A really clinical finisher. Son, Mora. I don't think the defense is quite what it was. I don't think the midfield is as good as 2, 3, 4 years ago. But Spurs will give us a really big game, and the game's going to be won and lost in midfield. And then you talk about Davis as the option in there, jerking out of tackles and not really offering anything on the ball. It's such a concern. But I really do hope we can raise our game. And you're talking about blaming the players instead of Rafa. I think, of course. The recruitment comes from, I think there's something not quite right, much higher up, even higher than the players and the managers, because it doesn't seem to matter. Every season we try and bring in a lot of players and we're trying to rechange something. And the manager, someone at the top maybe is setting this football philosophy, and either that's Marcel Brands or maybe even Farhad Moshiri or some kind of agent, because it's not working no matter what they do year on year. And don't get me wrong, Damari Gray and Andros Townsend have been great. I'm not convinced on the other two signings at all, but you know, it stinks. Something's rotten right now to the core. And therefore, I'm exonerating Rafa a little bit. Obviously, after the Wolves game, I was so wound up and upset, and I thought, this is a joke. But when it comes to think of it, he's got his excuses lined up. He's got no Calvert-Lewin. His best performer on Monday night was on Sky Sports. No Decore. But then that asks me, why are the players picking up stupid injuries without being on the pitch? Because I can't remember the last time someone has even picked up an injury, maybe been stretchered off or hobbled off, actually injured. It always seems to be like a few days before a game, a rumor on Twitter, someone's injured, someone's out, and you're like, what? Where? Because I watched the training videos, and I don't know if you see them as well, but they don't look that intense. I mean,
they're not. They're just jogging around. I thought, if we're doing that, then no wonder they're getting, injured, because when it comes to a game, they're actually having to sprint, and like they were just jogging around, taking it.
Maybe
easy.
That's what it is. The fact they're doing nothing in training and then going into the games and actually being asked to do something.
No set piece training. I really wanted to see, some corners, some free kicks being taken. And I was actually defending. I think, the admin, Twitter admin maybe lost a point. He or she could have really got something there. But the thing is, with Everton, it's just, it feels like we're just there to exist. Like we've been a middling club. I'd say probably, since 1992, before, I don't know how old you are already, but before I was born.
Before I was born. The year before I was born, yeah.
So I feel like we've always just been middling. And now, I think the issue is, though, because I've seen some fans, and Everton Twitter's not a nice place normally anyway, but then when you have 3 defeats in a row and you got fans going on at each other, we spent £500 million to end up worse than when we were under Moyes. That's why fans are frustrated. Fans aren't thinking, and sometimes rival fans don't really get it either. When I talk to other fans from fan channels and just fans on Twitter, they say, "Well, why are you so frustrated? Like, you haven't won anything in forever." I said, "Yeah, but £500 million down the drain. When Man City spent that much, and when Chelsea spent that much, they got success within a few years. What we've done is actually gone backwards after spending all that money." So I understand why fans are frustrated, because our bench is a joke. We have 2 goalkeepers and we can't fill it half the time. So it's just, you can't compare it to the relegation scraps that we used to be in, but it's a different kind of pain, if that makes sense. It's a different kind of,
it's a disappointment.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, before you could say that we expected to be bad, and now it's like, we're not expected to be bad, but we are. And what you said about the 500 million thing is spot on. I mean, I don't know if you saw my Watford reaction, but we, against Watford, 6 of the players who started cost less than 2 million combined. And we've spent 500 million. So where is all the money gone?
Yeah.
It's gone on a player who's on bail for allegable things that, we're not even going to go into, but they're not good. We're offering coaching contracts to former drug, players who've been back for doing drugs, Josie Baxter. What kind of example is that setting as well to young players? But the money is gone. The money is being wasted. Baxter, coaching contract. Why? Sigurdsson. These players, they're not involved. Andre Gomez is a £20 million player. Yerry Mina, £20 million player. I think something is rotten. And look at West Ham with David Moyes. He's building something so special there, because he's got full control over pretty much everything that's going on. And
I think
there's too many cooks at Everton. There's too many people in there with opinions that don't matter. And did you see the young lad, Usmanov's nephew, left already the board?
Yeah, for personal reasons or health reasons or something. So it's just, the thing is, I'm all for us having a director of football if he's allowed to do. I don't know what he does. Like, and that's not a thing on Brands. I mean, Brands has made okay signings and poor signings, and that could be due to the manager at the time. Like, it's been since Silva was here, but if he's not allowed to, what's in his job, direct the football. If he's not allowed to take charge, and it's still Ken Wright, it's still Mashiri, it's maybe even Denise. We've been hearing and then and then Brands, and then you got Benitez. If you're all just trying different things, and Mashiri wants the big name, and Brands. I don't know. It's all just a big mess, and all we've got to do is try and win a game, but we can't do it. All I want to do is just 3 points, and then I think these conversations would stop. And even if we saw some effort on the pitch, I think these conversations would stop. But there just seems to be, like you say, something so, I'd say, just incompetency, throughout the club, with the players, with the staff, in the board, at management level. There just seems to be no direction. Like under Moyes, at least we had some sort of identity of, we were the underdogs, didn't spend very much, found good players here and there, sold them on, Fellaini, all of them. But we had a hard-working team that played as a team. Now, I don't really know our system. It's just, and I think the results actually in the beginning of the season maybe papered over it a little bit. Even the Norwich game, if Norwich had some quality, that could have been a different result. They just didn't have anything, so we won the game 2-0.
We won a couple of pens in some of the games. We really did. I can't disagree with you, Rose. I mean, this is why I've brought you on, because you speak so much sense. The thing is, the Everton team, Everton at the moment have got no identity, correct? And they're just an unlikable bunch of players. Bar more 3 or 4 players. You don't like them, and I take it back. I mean, I'll tell you something. I've got a signed shirt here from a couple of years ago, signed in silver pen by all the players, and I never put it on the wall because I look at the names on there and I thought, St. Tosin, Nias. It's just a bunch of really quite unlikable players, and I don't think anything's really changed, bar your likes of Calvert-Lewin, Seamus, Luca, and maybe 2 or 3 others, Richie and Corey. There's a few, but then I look around and think John Joe Kenny, Cenk Tosun, Andre Gomez, Tom Davis. I'm not really thinking these aren't like the idols. They aren't making me be like, I'm so excited to go and watch Everton. The recruitment thing, you're spot on with that. Let's be real here. Too many cooks in the kitchen, and I don't really think Marcel Brands has had the full control over managers, over recruitment. I think he was the one who brought in Decore and Godfrey in the Ancelotti season, for sure. So I'm giving credit for that. But why is he not vetoing the signing like Solomon Rondon, who for me is utter garbage and wouldn't be out of place in the Championship? A lot of our players who come in when we have an injury, I'd say 1 to 11, Everton's first 11. If we had everyone fit on Sunday, we will beat Spurs. We would beat Spurs 1-2-0. I guarantee it. One injury in that team at left back, and you've got a centre back at left back. At right back, you've got John Joe Kenny. Midfield, at any position, up front, Calvert-Lewin. I think the lack of Calvert-Lewin really demotivates players because they know they haven't got someone up there who's going to get on the end of things, who's going to make themselves occupy defenders. So anyone who comes in is like a substandard player, and I'm talking about Championship standard. And until we've got Europe or have money again to be able to say, right, our bench players are on similar wages to the first team because they're nearly as good as them and they can come in at any point and make a difference. Because I look at Martinez's team in 2013-14 and he had Osman rotating with Barkley, Pinar, Morales, De La Feu, Aidan McGeady. Everyone could offer something unique and different and had the skill set. I don't think there's anyone at Everton who can come in the bench, come on and make an impact.
No.
And it's a concern. And I think let's give Rafa some time. I do think Goodison Park could get really toxic. We're going to just talk about Spurs in a moment and just quickly go to the comments. Stephen says, good evening to you both.
Evening.
Good evening, Steve. Worried with us some big games coming up. Yeah, I think we share that sentiment. Dave's also talking about the net spend of Liverpool. They make good sales, and the name Liverpool means they can get top money for bad players. And we can't. The only way out of Everton is when your contract expires or on a loan deal. It really is. It's a shambolic. You talk about shambolic inwards. It's shambolic outwards. and there's no one coming in through the academy either. And I know you mentioned that, and that's time for another video, but it's not producing anyone of note, and it's so poor. About Spurs on Sunday, they're unbeaten in the last 8 top flight visits to Goodison Park. Not a good sign. I think the last time we beat them, maybe Jelavic scored.
Yeah, it was
like a long time ago. They've beat us more than any other team in the Premier League era. Defeats in a row if we lose this. That isn't good at all. And it would be the most home losses in a calendar year since 1958 and 1993 if we lose again, which isn't good enough, really. And of course, on the Spurs side, they've got Antonio Conte, who was able to help Spurs beat Vitesse, I think they were. They're 3-2.
Yeah.
I mean, it was self-suicide, really, from them. They got 2 men sent off. But, you know, Tottenham Hotspur, up and down, on Antonio Conte, he's going to make them a different proposition, isn't he?
Yeah.
How do you think Spurs will approach this game? Do you think they're going to come and just try and all-out attack? Or do you think they will sit back and hit us on the counter? Or do you think it'll be a bit of both and see how we do, really?
I think they'll come at us. I think Conte's already spoken about the fact, I'm just looking at what he said, that, you know, every player needs to improve, like the physical condition. You know, we get emotional. Spurs get emotional during games. And the only injury that Tottenham have is Ryan Sessegnon. So,
of course.
They've got, you know, pretty much a full strength. And Brian Gill as well. But, you know, they've got pretty much a full strength Spurs team. And the way that I haven't watched much of Spurs really. I did see their result against Vitesse, but we were letting Watford dictate the play and like have all the possession. And look how they punished us with it. If we do that with Spurs, it's more how we come out, I think, actually. So even though we're talking about Spurs, I think if we let them have all the possession, they'll just pick us off. You know, every time a team now gets a corner, or it's not even, I mean, to quote Fabian Delph, it's not even anything difficult. It's just the basics of, you know, if the fullbacks push forward, Coleman's pin backed, he can't get forward. Dean is fit but didn't play last time out, so we'll see how he gets on. And I would argue defensively, he's not the best. And even you could argue that his forward haven't been great. I
think he's been poor in some of the games. He's breezed past by some of the Watford players. I can't argue with you.
So him against Son, I mean, you know, he needs to give us something going forward, really. But then we're probably going to have either Richarlison, who might be isolated, or Ronald. So I think we've just got to get an early goal. You know, we get an early goal, get the crowd on side.
Yeah.
You know, make a few tackles, but come out and fight. If we start lethargic and slow, then the crowd is going to turn. Tottenham will sense it. Yeah, then for me, it's only going one way. You know, and I even saw an Everton fan suggesting, you know, a tackle on Son, like, might just get the crowd up. Now, I'm not for injuring players at all or anything like that, but that kind of thing, yeah. You know, you need a good early challenge, heavy challenge in, get the crowd on side. But it just depends on which Everton turns up. Honestly, sorry, Ryan, I can't answer that question because from what I've seen, we can only play one half, so it depends. Do we turn up for the first half or the second half? I don't know.
If you don't laugh, you cry. And I think, you know, tactically, the Everton thing, you want Luca Dean and you want Seamus to go on forward and attack. But you feel against the Spurs wide men, particularly Son, they're going to end up being pinned back. And then there's no combination play out wide. And then if the formation is to stuff the midfield just to stop them playing and to actually allow us to get a bit of possession and stop teams just totally dictating games against us, then you've just got the one striker, Richarlison, who would be isolated. So unless you're playing a box-to-box player in there with the energy and the legs to go and support him, but also get back, which we don't have, it's a concern. For me, if Gomez was fit, I'd still play someone like that because he helps you bring the ball under control a bit more. Yeah. At the moment, we've got a side going into the Spurs game, which doesn't want the ball in midfield, really. It's comfortable on the flanks, but needs the space to go into. Because Townsend was really smothered against Wolves, and Gray as being marked out of games now, unfortunately, because they've clocked onto the fact he's actually really good. Yeah. And Richarlison can't just stand as like back to goal statue. He wants to drift onto the wide, and that leaves no focal point. If we had Doucouré fit, I'd go 4-4-2, and I would actually play Rondon as bad as he is, because he will occupy someone.
Yeah.
But it's really difficult to see now because it's a team that doesn't want the ball. It's not that great. It's got a nervous. Michael Keane is a nervous wreck. He's been a nervous wreck for years. He'll have 6 good games and he'll look fantastic, and then he'll have 6+ games where he looks like an absolute nervous wreck. Anyone running at him can get past him. Poor decision making, awful distribution. We can't play out the back. We can't play through midfield. We've got one tactic: it's get it out wide and cross it in, and we're missing our striker. So it's a worry. And then, Everton are going through cycles of individual errors costing us games, and then it'll be set pieces costing us games, and then it'll be something else. Pickford maybe making a hash and blotting paper of several games. So it's a worry in that regard, how we're going to set up tactically. I just think fight for them. Let's get on the back of Spurs, stop them playing, and try and stop conceding cheap goals. And then if we can get a point, I think that would be a good result, and try and get through the international break, bring those players back in. Just before I let you go, because I'm conscious of time, set pieces. What can we actually do to stop Spurs? Because, okay, I don't think they're quite as big as a West Ham, but they've still got good threats in central defence. Harry Kane. Okay, probably they aren't the best of the set pieces team. I've jinxed it now. They're going to score a set piece. But how can we stop them? Because man marking is not going to work because the players are tiny. You talk about that midfield 3, Davis, Alan, and Delph. They're 5'9".
Yeah.
Townsend 5'9", Gray 5'10". Richarlison's not even 6 foot. Godfrey's barely 6 foot. So you've got Pickford, small goalie. So man for man isn't going to work. So what is the option? The zonal thing is also a bit of a mess. Is it blockers? Is it a bit of a mix of man marking? Is it really deep defending? Is it get someone on the goal line, maybe on the back post to head it away?
Yeah, I mean, I'm really not the expert with this, but I think.
What would you like to see, though?
I think some man marking still, because we've got Michael Keane and Ben Godfrey. I mean, he was nearest. Was that against Wolves? Was that against Watford? I mean, we conceded so many that he was. West Ham. He was closest to Ogbonna, I think. But I think that I mean, they've still got the likes of Sanchez, and even Kane is good in the air. So I think we do man marking, and then like Tom Davis just has to run around as quickly as he can blocking, because I think it's a second ball as well that we've been lacking. That the ball drops, and then it's in the net. Like, we're slow to react. So I think you tell the midfielders, right, you've just got to make a nuisance of yourself. You're not going to win the ball in the air, but just try and kind of match them height for height, because I think Lo Celso plays for them now. So they have got also some short players. I mean, Son's pretty tall too. So I just think you've just got to try and just match it height for height. I know that's not what we're going to do, but you've just got to do the best you can.
Rafa's never done that there, in fairness. It's going to be zonal marking, isn't it? It's going to persist.
We just haven't got the players for it. Because I was thinking earlier about what you said about, while at Liverpool, we could do this, we could do that. Yeah, but at Liverpool, you won the Champions League. You had a very good team. Let's be honest, very good defenders, Hippier, Carragher. They're different, and they're tall, and they're going to win everything. And I don't know. It's not working. I think the players, I don't know how true this is, but apparently the players were upset with the tactics. I would say that they have to look closer to home first before they start questioning Benitez. But if they're not happy with it, then
I agree.
If they don't understand what they're doing, then I don't know. I don't know.
I mean, I don't find that hard to disbelieve, actually, that they weren't happy, because I think the system which left us with 2 midfielders versus always a centre-back coming out from Wolves and a midfielder, and Jimenez also dropping into the hole, meant we were outnumbered sometimes 4-2. So I can understand the players being frustrated that that setup and that style of Wolves wasn't taken into consideration. In terms of the set pieces, if we man mark them, we're going to lose the headers because we haven't got the jumpers. So
what would you do?
I'd have 1 person on the post minimum, possibly 2, because at least then I think a couple of the goals could have been headed off the line. I mean, it's not ideal because you play a lot of people offside, but I'm concerned we're not winning the first header. We're not winning any we don't win any second balls anywhere now. Decore's gone. We were top for second balls and ball retention and winning the ball back with Decore and Allen. It's all gone out the window.
Yeah.
I'm not a tactical expert. I'm just an Everton fan. I would probably say stick with the zonal, but have the stronger blockers, maybe man mark their better players, and then still have the zones.
Okay.
So maybe man mark their actual strongest aerial players, like what we did under Ancelotti. Like what we did there, which was, I think we man marked some of the better players and we had the zones as well. And it worked because we conceded 7 set pieces all season and we were amazing going forward at them. And now it looks like you just have to kick the ball in and anyone's going to head it in. Anyone who goes and attacks the ball will do it. And it's embarrassing. But Rose, thanks so much for your time. Honestly, it's an honor to have you on because I know you've got a really fantastic channel with 10 times more subscribers and watchers as us at Follow Everton. But if you haven't seen Everton Rose's channel, please go and search for Everton Rose on YouTube. And she's also on Twitter. And it's a really good channel to watch and make sure you do subscribe to her as well. And I'm hoping she'll come back on. I'm hoping you'll come back on future videos and I'll be able to come on your channel. And yeah, hopefully at some point we'll get, even if we get to 500 subscribers, I'd be quite happy. If you could retweet this video and I don't know whether you can share a video on YouTube to your subscribers. I think there is some option to do that.
Yeah, on the community page. Yeah.
Thank you very much for coming on.
All right.
It means a lot. And hopefully, I quite like the fact we're playing on Sunday because it still lets you have a bit of a weekend before they ruin it. Monday is not so good because then your week's ruined, which is even worse because you've got to go to work and face it. But Friday's the absolute worst, isn't it? Because a Friday night game. So I'm grateful we're playing last, but let's hope some other teams drop some points as well before, and we can come in with, and a point would do us good. But if all our rivals start winning and we're slipping down into the bottom half of the table, I think there's going to be very, very grumpy Everton fans come the start of the game against Spurs. Thanks so much. We'll speak soon.
Thanks.
Absolute pleasure. Thanks for watching, guys. Also, make sure you hit the like and subscribe button. Rose, I'll catch you later. Thank you so much. Bye now.
Bye.